Let's talk about building, testing, and deploying with DXP Cloud. You will recall that we have a GitHub repository that we provide for you that's going to be helping you with these three things. So before we start building, the first thing you're going to want to do is clone or fork the repo that we have given to you. Now, behind the scenes, if you want to use different version control, technically you can, but when it comes to actually working with DXP Cloud, you're going to be cloning or forking this repository in order to get everything within DXP Cloud, right? As we develop our code, let's say we're making an application, what you're going to do next is you're going to then create a branch, right? You'll add your code to that branch, and then you're going to create a pull request against that clone repo. Once you make that pull request, that's what's going to start the whole build, test, and deploy process. Next up is going to be the testing. So once you make that pull request, right, the testing then begins. The testing happens behind the scenes with the Jenkins server. We call this the CI service, not to be confused with the service stack that we talked about. So when we talk about the CI service, we're talking about Jenkins at the end of the day. So Jenkins is going to be that continuous integration server that's going to be helping us out with the tests. Now, there are a couple of tests that come with DXP Cloud. Of course, if you want to make your own, feel free to do so. Let's assume the tests go well. That's going to bring us to the next step. But if they do not, you want to, of course, take a look and see what's wrong. If there's any sort of errors, there's that specific URL. And again, keep in mind the URL is unique for your own environment. So of course, what you see here might be a little bit different than what you yourself have. So just keep that in mind. So building, right? Clone the repo, pull request, testing happens as you make that pull request. So we don't really need to worry about that part. Next up is going to be deployment. So assuming the build and the test happens successfully, last thing that occurs is that deployment. All we need to do is head over to the console. You'll then have the option to deploy to whichever environment that you want, right? It's a very simple click, deploy build to, and then that's it. So as you can see, it's a very simple process. Now, continuous integration, right? The idea here is as we're making changes, as we're committing those changes, we're gonna make sure that everything is cohesive, that whatever I'm adding, whatever you're adding is integrated together so that the end product is going to be as we expect it, right? And again, this happens all automatically for us using Jenkins as we use that GitHub repository. So with that, quick knowledge check. So feel free to pause the video if you'd like to fill out these specific sections here. Once you're ready, go ahead and hit that play button. I'll go ahead and move on to the next part here. So starting off, the CI service is used to run tests on code changes made to the GitHub repository. Again, this is what we give to you once you have your DXP Cloud instance ready to go. Right? Jenkins is going to be the one behind the scenes that's going to be helping us out with the continuous integration. Speaking of continuous integration, that whole process is where developers commit software changes to a common code base, and that code base is built and tested automatically. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward here. We're eventually going to be seeing an exercise shortly, but until then, this wraps it up for this video, and I'll see you in the next video.